company around the world. Wonderful to have Team Talk's favourite, Darren Lewis, in the hot seat. And for the first time this season, Glenn Murray. Glenn, anything exciting this week?
No, not particularly, Jules. Anything your end?
Well, Darren, what's for dinner?
What's for dinner? Well, over the weekend, we got so much to choose from, haven't we? Dish of the day on Sunday, Chelsea against Arsenal. The hors d'oeuvre in the morning, West Ham against Liverpool.
Yeah.
And maybe the secret, the chef's surprise, if you like, is Crystal Palace against Manchester United.
I really thought you were going to tell us about some hot new restaurant in Russia, because you always are. Now the viewers know that as well. Instead, you're talking about what's on the menu in terms of the Premier League. Well, let's get straight into it, why don't we? The headline act this weekend is a top-of-the-table clash and a London derby. Chelsea versus Arsenal at Stamford Bridge. Will leaders Arsenal further cement their status as title favourites, or can second-place Chelsea throw a spanner in the works?
West London and North London collide.
Teams still winning.
Oh, can you believe it?
Look at the clock. You know, teams will race to the top.
The most contested London derby.
Bridges burn, tables turn, highs and lows, gotta figure it out.
Blue touch paper lit. McConnell's run it back again.
Teams still winning. How can I flop?
Hat-trick at Stamford Bridge.
Problems upon problems. Wenger and Mourinho are going at it on the touchline.
Is that a beautiful goal? Red card for the former Blue.
Teams still winning. How can I flop?
Marine!
Chelsea fight back.
You know, teams will rise to the top.
Staggering! Simply staggering game! Football never ceases to amaze you!
Chelsea against Arsenal.
What a game we have in prospect, and Darren, suddenly a top-of-the-table clash.
Absolutely. And on the one hand, it's hard to call because obviously Chelsea, off the back of a fantastic win over Barcelona, I really didn't expect them to win as emphatically as they did. Very impressive. And the clean sheet, all important as well. That means that's, 4 clean sheets in their last 5 matches. Very impressive for a side that I thought had defensive problems. But Arsenal, I mean, they're the defensive supreme master so far this season. They are so hard to score against, and I actually think this game will be decided by both defences. There's a mistake in the Chelsea one in every game they play, despite the run that they're on at the moment. If you take out Barcelona, the other clean sheets are against an unconvincing Spurs side, Burnley, who are struggling at the bottom of the table, and Wolves as well, who are struggling at the bottom of the table. If you were a striker, and thankfully we have one here, which defence would you worry most about coming up against?
Yeah, I think you make a very valid point there. Arsenal's, but there is a chink in the armour as well, with Gabriel not being there. So even though Hincapie's stepped in and he's been very impressive, there still is a slight weakness.
You'd still see that as if you were preparing to play in this game this weekend, because I thought Hincapie looked really composed and quite good, and also they all defend against Spurs.
Yeah, no, but.
Well, no, Bayern Munich.
They didn't have much attacking prowess.
No, it was Mosquera.
Mosquera against Bayern Munich, yes. So they've got 2 players who can go in against...
When we talk about Arsenal's defence, obviously it's the famous duo that we talk about, and when that's broken, there's got to be a slight weakness and a slight downturn. Even though we've not seen it yet, it's about managing that situation as far as Arsenal are concerned. And listen, for me, this game is set up for a bit of creativity, something special to happen. And I agree with what you say, that Chelsea are probably slightly weaker in defence, but then they've got Caicedo in front protecting that space. But I just feel as though this game is set up for a certain man to come on and reintroduce himself to the Premier League. You know which man I'm talking about, don't you?
Palmer.
Yes.
Well, I have a question from a striker's point of view in Chelsea, because they didn't really play with the recognised 9 against Barcelona. We were kind of seeing the team sheet and wondering, well, who's going there? Esteva was excellent, but Pedro Neto through the middle and up top as part of that front 3 with Garnacho, that was quite interesting. Was that something you expected? Is it somehow a place that he could be taking up more regularly now?
It wasn't something I expected, but tactically it made sense because Barcelona will play with such a high line when you're going into this game against Arsenal at the weekend, I think it's a very different profile needed, because someone like Neto, I feel, could be bullied. I think we've seen that with Richarlison last weekend, didn't we? Richarlison was very lonely at times, and when you are that mantle and you are that kind of foundation to get your team further up the field, ultimately he didn't hold the ball well enough, did he, on Sunday? So I can honestly see Liam Delap playing this game. A bit of physical presence just to kind of release that pressure, because no doubt Arsenal are going to play well and dominate the game at stages. So you need someone to go long to, and for me, that man's Delap.
So you think that he's the sort of player, like, you want him to have his back to goal, take the ball on his chest, keep the ball, retain, so that if you've got players running off him,
then you can get people out, and because obviously, like I said, Arsenal are going to be in the ascendancy at times, and with their creative players, they're going to be dominant. They're going to pin you in. And sometimes you just need a release valve, and hopefully for Chelsea, that can be Delap. And when you hold that ball up, then you can get Neto with you, João Pedro with you, or whoever he decides to play. Obviously, he's got options, and when they're going forward, they're really exciting.
Let's talk about the midfield battle, because there is quite an exciting one about to go down here. Moises Caicedo, who was able to be rested against Burnley, because obviously he travelled back so late from international duty. He did feature against Barcelona, expecting him to play against Arsenal, and then against Declan Rice as well in that midfield. He was the outstanding player in midweek against Bayern Munich. That is a scintillating battle to look forward to.
It is, and it's going to be interesting to see how Arsenal deal with him, because do they try to cancel him out with a Rice or even a Zubimendi, who both of whom are very disciplined in the centre of the park? Or do they say, listen, let them worry about us and play around him, then play down the channels? They've got very accomplished wingers who can score from the wide areas or provide the ammunition from the wide areas. So it does remain to be seen. Given the game is at Stamford Bridge, I would imagine they'll probably look to contain the likes of Caicedo and play around him. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it'll be definitely one man they're trying to stop, and like you say, that is a possibility, whether it's Rice or Zubimendi. But him in his part, that last clip there is so special, isn't it? The way he hunts that ball down, and honestly, in those situations, he's so quick and so dominant. For me, he went there with a lot of hype from Brighton, a lot of expectation to step up. Obviously, the price tag came into consideration, and I feel now we're really starting to see the real Moises Caicedo and how good he can be. And I still think there's potential and growth left in him. And I think on those clips as well, we've seen him getting further forward, and he's more efficient, whereas we know him as that kind of deep line protector.
Yep.
I think he's adding elements to his game as well.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Cole Palmer earlier as well. I want to move on to him, because Enzo Maresca was speaking about the prospect and likelihood of Cole Palmer and Estevao playing together.
No, they can play together. They can play together. Depends, against which team, depends a little bit the game plan. But for sure, they are excited. The fans, they are excited to watch both together. We also are excited, thinking that at the end we need always balance between the two faces.
Yeah, there was a funny moment at Stamford Bridge. Cole Palmer was, obviously they showed him, he was sitting on the bench there. And then when Cucurella was given player of the match, Palmer was standing pitch side and was like, how did you win this? Because I think a lot of people thought Estevao was the outstanding player. Very, very exciting prospect. And I think exciting for a lot of people that he chose to come to the Premier League.
Yeah, super exciting. Listen, I covered Brazil in the international break as well, and I saw him there, and he is their next big star. There's a lot of hope on his shoulders going into the next World Cup, and that comes from his time at Chelsea, what he produces in the Premier League, and it's there for Carlo Ancelotti to see. And for me, yeah, as an ex-forward player, when Maresca's asked that question, I think it could be beautiful watching those two together.
I think it'd be a wow. Well, you schooled me before the show, because I was saying to you, look, I don't know if you can start Palmer in a game against Arsenal, formidable Arsenal, after 2 months out. And you told me a really interesting story.
Yes, I did, yeah. So I was recovering from an ACL injury. I've been out for 10 months, and Tony Pulis thought it'd be a really good idea to start me in my first Premier League game against Manchester United. And their partnership at the back then was Vidic and Ferdinand. So it was a rather long afternoon, to be honest.
Get a kick.
Wow, how did that go? How did that go for you?
Well, I try and forget about it, to be honest, Joe.
Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
I know I didn't score, we didn't win, but I can't remember what score the game was.
But the interesting thing is, I actually agree with Glenn. I think it's a big ask to start Cole Palmer from the start. And I think in English football culture, what we like to do is, if there are really good players, we want to shoehorn them all into the same side. But I think the system that beat Barcelona, and bear in mind, Barcelona's form fantastic so far this season. They're in a two-horse race with Real Madrid for the Spanish title. The attacking trident of Rafinha and Lewandowski and Lamine Yamal, and Chelsea kept them quiet.
Yeah.
I think the system they've got so far works, and maybe we could see Palmer in the 65th, 70th minute. He's coming back from injury. You have to be fair to him and not expect too much too soon. Esteval, or Estewao, some people are calling him, he's more than capable of minding the store by himself, I think.
Yeah. Estewao, if anyone forgot that you're a print headline man, there's the proof. It's in the pudding. Estewao.
I'm available for bar mitzvahs and weddings as well.
Just make sure it's on silent for now, because it's going to be ringing off the hook worldwide. Okay, speaking of players coming back from injury, very similar situation at Arsenal, because Ebere Eze was sensational in that North London derby, which I won't remind you of your predictions. Actually, we've clipped that up. No, I'm kidding. Ebere Eze was amazing, scored that hat-trick, but now there is an opportunity for Martin Odegaard to start. What do you do if you're Mikel Arteta?
Or Eberechi easy, as lots of people have been saying. Why would you drop someone who has had such an outstanding impact on the team, on the fan base, on the momentum that Arsenal are trying to generate? Listen, I defer to Glenn because he would be able to tell you far more about why it would be important to have that stability. But I don't see why, even if Odegaard might be the superior player, the senior player, I think, well, exactly.
Superior.
So, but some people would see him as superior. Eze right now, he's the man with the possession, 9/10 of the law.
For me, Eze is everything Arsenal are. I think he is the community of Arsenal on the pitch. I think he encapsulates like the feeling in and around the football club. You can see what it means to him in playing. He plays with a passion that a fan would play with. I had no doubt after watching him a lot at Crystal Palace that he would step into this Arsenal team and take it by storm. Listen, it's been pretty gradual. It's been slow at times, but that was an announcement last Sunday, and honestly, I think he could leave the football club as an icon.
Wow. This is a big opportunity for them. They've not won the Premier League in many, many years, decades, in fact. They've had moments where they've led the Premier League and they've not been able to see it through. Let's take a look at some of their fixtures that are coming up, because, you know, once they play Chelsea, they've played most of the sides in the top half of the table, certainly. And this is confirmation of what's coming up. I mean, mentally, Darren, that's also part of the fight. You know, they've got this big game against Chelsea coming up. They had a big game in midweek. They had a big game on Sunday. But mentally, this is a battle for them as well.
It is, because the feeling a lot of people would have looking at this fixture list is that these are all winnable games. And I think in title races, that's where Arsenal have slipped up in the past. Not necessarily against the biggest teams. It's against the smaller clubs. And I think, for example, Crystal Palace is a potential banana skin. Everton would be in the top 7 on defensive record, for example. They've only conceded 13 goals so far this season. Brighton, as Glenn will tell you, very, very creative, free scoring. Aston Villa, one of the best defensive records in the Premier League, joint third, having conceded only 11 goals so far. These are all tough games.
They've got 8 games in 27 days. That's like a game every 3.5 days. That's a tough ask for any group, especially against the quality they're coming against. There might not be the names that we kind of consider being a difficult game for Arsenal, but I think any Premier League opposition, and this is really where we're going to see how they manage being top of the league, because obviously they've got history of blowing it, but also their squad depth. What we've lauded them for in the summer of like kind of getting better.
Well, this was going to be my question. The main difference between this season and seasons past is that there seems to be cover and quality cover in almost every position, double up sometimes. And that seems to be the difference. I'm thinking about the game in midweek where, for example, Trossard went off, Madueke came on, Madueke switched flanks when Martinelli came on. They both scored then.
Well, Calafiori came on for Miles Minniskeni and set up the goal for Madueke straight away. And look, there were 1 or 2 players in that squad that lots of people were quite underwhelmed overwhelmed by when they arrived in the summer. And then suddenly there was that terrific vindication of the policy, the transfer policy, when in the Liverpool game, Saliba wasn't available and Mosquera came in and was outstanding. Havertz wasn't...
Right, it's gone half-time at Villa Park. Aston Villa are 2-0 up, as we told you, against Swiss side Young Boys. But the game has been marred by trouble in the stands. Now, Rob Jones is there for us, and we can join him now. Rob, what can you tell us about what's happened, please?
Yeah, I mean, for the first 40 minutes or so of the game, maybe a little bit less than that, it was all pretty good-natured. The Young Boys fans were making a good noise. There was plenty of energy, but I think the mood on that side of the ground changed quite significantly when Aston Villa scored their opening goal tonight. Donyell Marlon scored and then ran across towards the Young Boys fans, but not, you would say, in a particularly antagonistic way. He wasn't that near to the Young Boys supporters, but as he ran across to that side of the ground, a whole host of things were thrown from the visiting supporters, and one of them clearly hit Donyell Marlon on the head, so he finished the first half having scored a second goal as well in this game for Aston Villa with quite a clear cut on the top of his head that had drawn a bit of blood. He scored the second goal. He ran towards the same side of the ground, but nowhere near the Young Boys supporters. Again, they tried their best to throw something, but he was too far away to be struck by anything on this occasion. And after that happened, it became a lot more heated, you would say, between the stewards inside the ground at Villa Park and the Young Boys fans as well. Initially, it was things like plastic cups that were clearly being thrown, but after that, there were at least 2 or 3 that I saw pale blue seats in that part of the ground that were thrown from the Young Boys supporters. And then there was a bit of a delay in the game where the stewards came together with the supporters who were right at the front of that stand on the far side of the ground that we're watching it from. And certainly 2 or 3, again, at least, supporters were ejected from the stadium at that point. So as I said, initially in the match, it was all seemingly pretty good-natured from the supporters that have come across from Switzerland, but that very much changed after the first goal. And I think there will be a lot for the police and for the Aston Villa stewards to sort out come the end of the game, given everything that's happened in this first half.
Rob, I mean, I'm looking there. It's the referee, Georgi Kabakov, the Bulgarian, and his team. Is there any chance that they might actually call this match off, do you feel?
I don't think it's got to that point at the moment. After there was a delay in play where those supporters were taken out of the ground, the referee called the 2 captains, including Villa's Youri Tielemans, together. I think probably some of this will ease in the second half because Villa will be kicking towards the Holt end. So if they score, they will probably go in front of their own fans at that famous old end of the ground.